Hari Om to everyone. Today I'll be talking about shlokas 2.54 to 2.58. These shlokas talk about the qualities of a Stithaprajna. First, I'll chant these 5 shlokas and then I'll share my meaning of them. Arjuna Uvacha Stithaprajnasya ka bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Stitadih kim prabhasheta Kim asita vrajeta kim Shri Bhagavanuvacha Prajahati yada kaman Sarvan partha manogatan Atmanyevatmana tushtaha Stithaprajnastadochyate Dukkeshvanudvignamanaha Sukheshu vigatasprihaha Vitaragabhayakrodha Stitadhirmuniruchyate Yah sarvatra nabhishnehas tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita Yada sanharate chayam Purnonganiva sarvashaha Indriyanindriyatebhya Tasya prajna pratisthita. So basically what I've done is I've taken I condensed what the message of the shlokas is into 4 points. So basically the first shloka 2.5455. So 5.4 is basically about Arjuna being confused and asking Krishna about how a Stithaprajna lives. And from there on, the next 4 shlokas is Krishna talking about the qualities of a Stithaprajna. So in 2.55, Krishna says a Stithaprajna is a person. So one of the qualities of a Stithaprajna is a person who gives up all selfish desires or any cravings for their senses. Just like, and in Shloka 2.58, he gives the example of how a tortoise retrieves its limbs into its body. Just like that, a Stithaprajna can retrieve their desires away from their mind. And these thoughts are always consuming us. But a Stithaprajna, he gets rid of these thoughts, and therefore he's much more free in that way. Next, Krishna says in 2.56 that a person who can be calm in even disturbing situations or very turbulent situations, that person that is yet another quality of a Stithaprajna. And thirdly, he says a person who is free from attachment, fear, and anger. In Shloka 2.56, he says that whoever is free of anger and fear and attachment is another quality. And finally, he says a person who accepts both good and bad situations or good and bad things equally is a Stithaprajna. So these are the 4 qualities that I identified in these shlokas.
Is it practical that someone is free of fear, anger? Does it happen, or is it merely some kind of ideal qualities that Krishna is talking about? Are these even possible in life?
I mean, it's not easy, but it is possible.
Okay. Now, do you have examples of any of these? So they're talking about Stithaprajna.
Yeah.
So now, for example, so here, someone is able to withdraw.
Yeah.
Are there any particular examples, either from your own surroundings or whatever else you have seen and heard, that you can refer to?
I can't think of any examples.
Okay, is it possible that somebody can remain calm when very disturbing situations are happening in life?
Yeah, it is.
It is possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you noticed any examples, either in some situations outside uh, where you've been interacting? You go to school, you go to different places, you deal with different sets of people.
Yeah, in my talking about school, I think like one of my teachers, I think they can keep a very calm mind even in like many situations, even like very happening situations.
Can you give a particular example? Please understand, when you're talking about these things as a mere statement,
Yeah.
okay, who is a Stithaprajna? Someone who's calm even in turbulent situation. It is a statement.
Yeah.
But how do you connect to that statement? How do you bring about a connection to that statement within you and for somebody that you are helping? When you are going to talk about this in the classroom,
Mm.
how do you expect a child to connect to it as a mere statement?
So once there was a fire in the school, like near there's like a very dry place, and there's a fire over there. And instead of like panicking, I noticed that this teacher was like immediately got to work and getting like the water and like the water pump and all of that stuff instead of like panicking. So
Excellent. Then have you seen anyone who is free from attachment, fear, and anger?
as far as I've noticed, Prabhuji is free of all of these
How do you say that?
because
What makes you say that?
I haven't noticed um him being fearful or angry. And attachment, like I don't think, I mean, I he always gives instead of taking. Like he always tends to teach, and he doesn't want much for himself. That's what I've noticed.
Okay. And how do you say that, Stithaprajna is one who accepts good and bad equally?
So they don't what do you mean? Get the question?
What example can you give to say that Stithaprajna is the one who accepts good and bad equally?
I can't think of any example.
That is important. Please understand, the reason for asking all of you to do this is not simply to say this is the meaning of the shloka. That is anyway there. It can be read. Contemplation means you connect to it through examples, through experiences. Otherwise, this statement will remain as a statement. Yes, Namit.
Sir, so an example for the person who accepts good and bad equally is Rama. He, even when he had to go for Vanavasa, he was in the same. He accepted that situation, and when he came back and was to be crowned as the next king of Ayodhya, then also his state of mind was same.
Yeah, but you know what, Namit? People think of these as just stories. The thing
Yes.
is, Bhagavad Gita is not about repetition of the shloka and the meaning. It's about how you inculcate those values in your own life. And when can you inculcate?
When that kind of a situation comes.
One is that.
Yes.
When you start reflecting on that particular aspect and start noticing that. It is like, for example, say you are wearing a new dress, okay, and let's say it's a yellow color dress, and somebody says your yellow color dress is looking nice. Then you suddenly start noticing yellow color dress, those who are wearing yellow color dress, right? So you have to train your mind to notice these qualities.
Yes.
And the training is reference to examples. Yeah, Anita Aditi.
Uncle, both of us feel this way, but I think that when you're free from attachment, when you're attached to things, is when you think of situations as good and bad, or turbulent and disturbing, and all of that. So I think that people who aren't like that can accept any situation as it is and find a solution or whatever is needed to be done at that moment. You can look at it from a different perspective so that it doesn't become so bad anymore. And an example that I can give for that is, just yesterday I had watched a horror movie, and like mirrors are a little scary in that way for me. So we have like a full length mirror in the master bedroom, and I was feeling a little scared. So at that time, my mom told me to look at a mirror differently and told me to think of it as a chance to look at yourself and other people around you. So changing your perspective on situations can change your mindset drastically.
Certainly. But what is attachment? What does attachment mean? In this example, is there attachment? Because you're talking about attachment, right?
Yeah, in this example, there isn't. But for example, if a dress that you really like is torn, most people, instead of thinking of how you can fix it, they may panic at first, and they may only they may start whining and say, oh, my favorite shirt is torn, I cannot wear it now, instead of coming up with a solution. So there can be different solutions to either fix it, or you can also use it as an opportunity to use that fabric for something else, or try out something different with that shirt.
Excellent. So therefore, it is not really about imagining something different. So the freedom comes from realizing what is as is. So the sense of good and bad means what? There's an expectation of an outcome. In any given situation, my mind may have an expectation of this is how it should be. Then when it happens according to that, I will say this is a good. Or for example, how do I expect my, say, friend to be? Today is my birthday. I expect my friend to come and greet me. If my friend greets me and throws a surprise party, I say, oh, very good friend. For whatever reason, my friend has forgotten or has become busy, very bad friend. Why? Because I expected something out of my friend. So the attachment is nothing but like that. We have a sense of outcome that we are expecting from different people and situations of life. And when it happens according to that, we call it as good. When it doesn't happen according to that, we call it as bad. We term the person himself as bad person, because the behavior of that person in that situation was not according to how I wanted it to be. Isn't it? So for example, let's say your friend comes and says, hey, the way you are using your time is bad. You're wasting too much of time by, as an example, I'm saying, by watching TV. Stop doing that. Then that friend may himself be called as a bad friend. Why? How can he say that? But if that same friend comes and says, which one are you watching? Have you watched that? Come, let's watch that also. So then, it feels as if, he's also participating in my watching game. Then he becomes a good friend. So our sense of good and bad, therefore, is always coming from how I am seeing a particular situation to be, how I want a situation to be. So this expectation that the situation has to be this way makes me feel attached. There's nothing wrong in saying that, the situation has to be pleasant. But is it ever possible that all the situations are pleasant? Not at all. Some situations may not be pleasant. But the sense that I want it this way only makes me judge the situation or the person or other things that are involved in that situation as good and bad. So then how is a Stithaprajna free from such sense of attachment? How has he developed that quality? How has he developed? What do you feel?
He's not expecting anything out of it.
Then how do you do things in life?
Or he is not attached to the results of the actions that he is performing.
Excellent. So you have to practice that. Stithaprajna did not become a Stithaprajna by merely reading. Stithaprajna became a Stithaprajna through practice. What do you mean by practice here?
Applying it in
Trying to do that with daily situations.
Excellent. Yeah, Aditya.
Yeah, applying it in their daily life. That's what.
So I have to consciously apply it in my day-to-day situations. So when I notice myself becoming angry, when do I become angry? What makes me feel angry? What makes you angry?
When something doesn't go the way we want it to go.
Exactly. So what is at the root of that anger then?
Our expectations.
The situation is not the reason for the anger. The expectation that this is not how it is supposed to be. So root of the anger is my own attachment to the outcome. Karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So Krishna already taught how Stithaprajna has become a Stithaprajna, which is Stithaprajna has realized that situations may not always be in my own expectation. Then how do you become free of the fear?
Uncle, when you don't expect anything, you have nothing to fear about.
So now, as an example, I'm not joking. As an example, Anita said that, she's afraid of the mirrors. So now, how do you overcome that? What is at the source of that fear?
Some thoughts in my mind.
What thought?
That it is scary.
But how did that thought develop in the first place? Why are you not afraid of, say, seeing a mobile? Why? That is also mirror. Because, you can open your camera and see. That's also mirror. Or how come you're not afraid of water? There also you can see reflection.
I think this is because of how all these movies depict and show the mirror in that kind of light. So that's why she connects the mirrors to those things.
Excellent point. We get programmed by looking at the behavior that we notice in the society, the movies that we watch, the books that we read, the kind of the discussion that we get involved with. All of that is constantly programming our mind. Somebody comes and says that all people wearing black are evil people. And they show you 3, 4, 5, 6 examples. Then it is like the advertisement. The game of the advertisement, the psychology of the advertisement is that when something is repeated some 6 to 7 times, you start believing it is true. That is how the game of the advertisement is played. Why they repeat advertisement? Is for that reason only. So they want your mind attention when you are watching a movie. There also they bring that advertisement. Suddenly, your movie character goes to McDonald's and is eating. You see the McDonald's arch in the movie. The situation of the movie could have been shown in some other place also, but they take you to McDonald's only. Or they say, suddenly some two people are talking leisurely and they have some wine or beer or some alcohol in between them. And somebody comes and pours. So you're shown that product in the context. Then you're walking on the road. There's a billboard which says, having a good time. Come to McDonald's. Then you are in the lift waiting. There also you're not free. There is a digital board. Suddenly McDonald's appears there. You go to your Instagram. Every third feed is an advertisement. So you're constantly being programmed to notice things. Then after 3, 4, 5 times, you suddenly see McDonald's and you say, wow, McDonald's, I have to eat there only. This is good food. You start believing what you are constantly being given. So become aware of how your own mind is functioning. What you term as this is how it is supposed to be is your own belief system. So fear stems from such a belief system. What is fear? That something may come and harm me is a belief system. What can harm me? Depending upon who I think I am, whatever it may be. So, for example, if I think that I'm a very intelligent fellow, then an exam can be a source of the fear. Why? Because the exam may prove that I am actually not how intelligent I thought I am to be. I may go and fail in the exam. Then the fear of the failure comes in. Or if I think that the physical fears are all because I believe I am a body. Somebody may come and hurt my body, is how the fear comes in body-wise. So like that, I have to become aware of how my own mind is functioning. And Stithaprajna overcame all these by noticing how his own mind is functioning. Oh, in this situation, it is I who has a definition of who a good friend is. That is why I am labeling this person as a bad friend. Likewise, only all our life. Who is a good parent? Who is a good teacher? Who is a bad parent? Who is a bad, what is a bad book? All our definitions we have given. And how those definitions came in? Depending upon what kind of information was floating around you. So you are constantly being programmed in that sense. So become aware of the program that is entering you. When you notice the program that is entering you, then you will notice how you can be free of the program. Nothing wrong with the program. Nothing wrong with somebody showing you something. But are you seeing it above it? Is the important question that you need to raise to yourself. So in that sense, your own idea of an expectation causes fear, anger, and continues to keep you attached. So Stithaprajna became a Stithaprajna. Like for example, a dancer, both of you are dancers, Anita, Aditi. You are becoming a dancer or have become a certain level of a dancer. How? By constant practice. It has taken years and years of dedication and commitment to that goal. That has brought you to a certain level where you are now fluidly able to move. Likewise only, So the way you act in life is a practice. So be aware of what you are practicing. That is what Stithaprajnatva means. He's not someone who is, of course, we have to have the role models. The great masters are great role models, examples. But am I walking in their path? Is how you become free of your own tensions and anxieties in life. So the contemplation on Stithaprajna is not to say who is a Stithaprajna, is not to identify, is this a mobile? Is this a mobile? Tell me, is this a mobile? Tell me, is this a book? The question is not for you to recognize the book or a mobile. By recognizing the book or the mobile, what is the quality? Then what is the quality in me? And how do I develop that quality? Why I should develop that quality? Manya, why should we develop that quality?
Because one is we want to be like that particular thing, or we want to imbibe a quality from that particular thing, like a mobile phone, or we want to be like a Stithaprajna. But why do we want to be like a Stithaprajna? Because we know that that is, for example, so I want to be a let's say cricketers, then the most good idol for most cricketers would be a Sachin Tendulkar. So I also feel like when like being a part of Krishna or being a human being, the best way you can lead a life is being a Stithaprajna. And when you know that you have to be a Stithaprajna, it's not that you pick one of the Stithaprajna like Rama or Krishna, and then you can transform into Rama or Krishna completely like them. But then it's those qualities within Rama and Krishna, one by one, that you take and imbibe in yourself. One by one, you keep imbibing those qualities, and slowly you become a Stithaprajna in your own life situations, and that comes through practice. So you observe that the Stithaprajna's mind is always calm even in the very turbulent situations. So now forget about the turbulent situations. See if you are able to keep your mind calm in some situations that might be silly. For example, let's say you have some food in front of you, and you're not someone who likes spicy food, but then the food is slightly spicy. Now, are you able to control your anger, or are you able to control the feelings that become so irritating? Now you're getting irritated with the food, and you start acting very angry, or very you start complaining continuously about the food. Or can you just see what is the best thing that can be done? Perhaps adding a little bit of curd, let's say. So when you do those little things and try to stay calm in those very basic situations, then you can practice slowly in taking it to a next level, like an exam. Or slowly you just keep increasing the levels, and that's how with practice you become a Stithaprajna.
Excellent. There are no, for example, major situations in life in which you can practice. You cannot practice in the exam, right? So in that sense, every situation of life is your exam. And only by living through that can you continue to evolve. Yes, Manya.
For example, in during the grade 10th, the entire year, we had many tests and pre-boards. So the teacher always said, practice writing neatly in the examination sheet and try to draw lines and everything. So usually the students always say that we'll do it in the final examination, but then we'll not draw lines now. but we'll definitely do that in the final, the main exam. But then that doesn't really happen because you are already so used to writing, probably not so neatly and not drawing lines, that somehow you don't find the time, you feel it becomes difficult, and that's not important at the moment. So even though we feel we could do it in the bigger situations, one cannot do that if he does not practice in the smaller ones.
Absolutely. Like the baby pool and the main pool. Only when you know how to stay afloat in the baby pool can you swim in the bigger pool. Very nice. Any more points anybody likes to add or subtract or modify? All right. So it is like Stithaprajna qualities are like, you all know litmus test. You all have studied some chemistry. What is litmus test? What is litmus test?
To
But
identify,
as,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Aditi.
to identify if the solution is acidic or basic.
Okay. And Namit, have you read that? Do you know what it is? You don't. Okay.
From this year we'll learn chemistry.
From this year, you learn chemistry. Okay. Do you know there are different kinds of chemicals? Like water is a chemical.
Yes, sir.
Like, your juice is a chemical. Your
Yes.
coffee is a chemical. Your food, the food that you eat is a chemical. Your finger is a chemical. Your eye is a chemical. The table you're sitting on is a chemical. So in fact, the whole world is nothing but chemistry only. So in chemistry, you basically study about different properties, right? So now, what is acidic property? What is alkaline property?
Acidic is generally corrosive.
Acidic is generally corrosive. Okay. So something that corrodes. So for example, when you take an acid and put it onto some, say, paper, it can melt the paper. It corrodes. Okay. Then
Acids generally have strong odors.
come again.
Acids generally have strong odors.
Strong odors. Correct. Excellent.
bases are sour in taste, while acids are bitter. No, acids are sour and bases are bitter. Sorry.
So like that, you are identifying certain properties and you are trying to classify them, right? So now, for example, if I ask you, okay, which mobile is this? You look for something, okay, the brand name, and you say, oh, this is Oppo mobile, or you'll see some the way the front looks, and you say, oh no, this is an iPhone, right? So you try to identify the brand by certain characteristics, maybe the brand logo or the shape and form of it. Likewise, litmus test is how to identify whether it is acidic in nature or it is basic or alkaline in nature, right? So what does it test in one? What do you do in the test?
You dip the litmus paper in the solution, and if it's red paper and it does not change color, then it's acidic, and if it changes to blue, then it's basic.
So like that, you have a test. There's a special kind of a paper called as litmus paper. That litmus paper you dip into that liquid, and depending upon how it changes the color, you characterize. Oh, this is acidic. This is base. Oh, this is neutral. When you dip it into water, ideally it should not change color. Oh, it is neutral. Like that, you characterize acidic, basic, and neutral. Likewise, Stithaprajna is a litmus test for each one of us. So it is against the Stithaprajna qualities that we can measure our own actions. We can measure our own inner feelings, our own inner peace. So Stithaprajna is therefore given not simply to talk about somebody. Stithaprajna is given so that we can use Stithaprajna as a litmus paper, as a litmus test. When I'm going through a situation, how am I internally? It is not so much with external. When Rama had to be sent to Vanavasa, he had to wear the Vanavasa dress. So from external, you cannot know how his internal is. When he was being coronated, or when he was announced that you are going to be coronated, before that he was wearing the king's dress. Oh, Stithaprajna means one has to remove the king's dress and has to wear the Vanavasa dress. By that you cannot know. It is how one is internally. Because the external has to be dependent upon the situation. When Rama had to fight the war, he cannot be simply saying that I'll sit with eyes closed. I'm so peaceful that I will not use the sword and the dhanush. All that he did not say. When fighting the war, you have to have the attitude of the war. You have to show that in action, isn't it? But how is he internally, even when fighting the war? That eyes cannot see. Our eyes cannot see. Therefore, the qualities, inner qualities, what is being reflected here. We tend to judge people based on their external behavior. But what is important for us, therefore, is the inner qualities that Sri Krishna is giving through Stithaprajna. And that is what we need to cultivate internally. Externally, you may have to act depending upon the situation. Imagine somebody is taking the hand to the fire and is about to get burned. You cannot keep on saying, please don't keep the hand in the fire. Sometimes you may have to hold and throw their hand away, right? Because if the small baby is about to burn its hand, you may have to act swiftly. And when you have to act swiftly, you may have to push the baby away. That doesn't mean that you're not peaceful. That means that in that moment, that kind of an action was necessary to protect the baby from being burned. So therefore, from outside, you cannot decide what is the inside. So actions are not always reflection of how they are. Because peace, our idea of peace may be, oh, somebody who is always with eyes closed. Whatever may happen. So for example, in front of a peaceful person, you can go and you can do nasty things. You can hurt somebody, and the peaceful person will remain peaceful, will close the eyes and will walk away. No, that is not the idea. But the peaceful person remains peaceful and calm internally, but knows how to act externally. That is Stithaprajnatva. All right? So, good. Shall we conclude on the Stithaprajna discussion? Anything more? So, I want all of you to reflect deeply. Yeah, so bring examples, connect to your life situations. Not simply give the meaning. That meaning can be read anywhere. Only when you make it your own statement of reality, then it has a resonance. When you go to the class and when you have to tell other children, Stithaprajna is one who is free from fear, then, Aditi can give the example. I used to be afraid of the mirror, and the source of the fear was this. And now this is what I have done. And now no more I feel afraid of the mirror. I can see the mirror and I keep staring at the mirror and I am no more afraid. So now it has become a personal statement of experience. No more she is simply repeating what Krishna said. Krishna says, Stithaprajna is free from fear. That is not what a child or somebody that you are teaching will want to hear from you. It has to be how it is your own inner experience. All right? Yeah. Good. Then we will stop this contemplation.